appreciate it. Just one more beat on the gun vote yesterday. Did you tell me about the pressure you felt to vote against it? You're obviously somebody that has a record in favor of voting with gun groups in the past, and yet you voted. You were in the minority of your party. Did you feel intense pressure to vote against it?
No, Jake, I've been around here a long time, and honestly, I don't feel much pressure anymore. I just try to do what I think is right, and unfortunately, it's not always right.
Here, I want to play for you some sound from President Obama. He was very angry in the Rose Garden yesterday.
But instead of supporting this compromise, the gun lobby and its allies willfully lied about the bill.
Willfully lied about the bill. You know, Washington's an odd town, as both you and I know. People don't often use the L word for some reason. They don't often accuse people of lying. Were you surprised that President Obama said that? And is it true? Were gun groups lying about the bill?
I'm not sure about that because, frankly, I didn't pay a great deal of attention. I'm very familiar with the issue, but I understand how the president felt very strongly. He was in Newtown. He feels the suffering of the families, and I can certainly understand, given his point of view, why the president got somewhat emotional. By the way, I'm joined by my friend Senator Schumer, that a lot of people may not remember. Back in the 18th century, Senator Schumer was the author of the Brady Bill, one of the first bills that brought of gun control.
Right, he applied to bows and arrows.
There you go.
Senator Schumer, thanks for joining us. We're glad you could make it. I want to talk to the two of you, obviously, about immigration reform. But before we turn to that subject, why do you think the gun bill went down? Why do you think so many Republicans and a handful of Democrats voted against it? Was it a principled vote against it, or were they afraid of losing re-election?
Well, I think that there's something in between, and that is representing the people of your state. Unfortunately, in many, many states, the more rural states, some of the gun organizations have made people afraid of any gun legislation, as they claim each one will lead to the taking away of your gun. It so happens the background checks would not affect law-abiding gun owners. I believe in the Second Amendment. I think there's a right to bear arms, and I don't think liberals are right when they say it only applies to militias, and I was saying that before the Heller Amendment. But on the other hand, this bill only affects people who are felons, who are adjudicated mentally ill, who are spousal abusers. If you're a law-abiding gun owner, this isn't going to interfere with your rights, but some of these gun organizations, the NRA in particular, they can't win on the merits of the argument, so they scare people, and that's what they've done here. Having said that, if you represent one of these rural states, they think if you vote for this, it's going to end up taking away your gun.
Okay. Well, I want to turn to immigration reform because that's obviously why we booked you, the two of you. A big part of the immigration bill that you and the other members of the Gang of Eight unveiled yesterday is about border security. Some people are very skeptical that this actually would beef up border security in any substantive way, Senator Schumer. Can you understand why they're skeptical? There have been so many promises in the past about securing the border that have not come through.
Well, John has convinced me that we need to do more on the border. And let me give you one statistic. He and I actually passed legislation about 3 years ago that added $1 billion to the border. And in many places, particularly the very busy Tucson sector, the effectiveness rate was 68%. After that $1 billion, it went up to 82%. So we believe if we do more of the same things there, we can get it. And what John showed me when we visited the border, how much they need equipment. They don't have enough drones. They don't have enough aircraft. You can't cover the border with just fence and personnel. A lot of it's rugged, it's desolate. But if you have in the air, you can watch anyone who crosses the border. You can catch them 50 or 75 miles inland. So we can do better on the border, and the American people are demanding it. My view is that most Americans will be for a fair, balanced, common-sense approach to legal immigration and the 11 million living in the shadows, but only if they believe that we'll secure the border and not have a third wave of illegal immigration. So I'm willing to do that, and I think most of my colleagues on the Democratic side are willing to do that, even those of us far away from border states, southern border states.
Senator McCain, I'll let you have the last word. Two quick questions. One is, anecdotally, I've heard that there are people who are making their way across the border illegally who are doing so because they hope that they will be able to become citizens because of this immigration reform bill. Have you heard those stories from Arizona or elsewhere? And lastly, can you deliver 60 votes to make this bill happen?
I believe we can. In answer to your second question, I believe we can. As far as the increased crossing of the border, I think part of it has to do with the economy, part of it has to do with sequestration. Anyone who came after December 31st, 2011 will not be eligible for this legalized status and eventual path to citizenship. I want to thank Chuck Schumer for coming to the border and seeing it, and seeing the immensity of the problem, and frankly being an advocate for Arizona and border control. People are skeptical, Jake, because we promised them so many times that we would control the border. Now, we have made improvements, as Chuck just said, but we're a long way from there, and the drugs are still flowing too, which is another issue that we're going to have to face as a nation as well, because there's still a big demand for them, as you know.